Today we are going to talk about adventure tourism in 4 countries of the world: Canada, South Africa, India and Peru. These are Shari, Sebas and Thomas, and I am Anouk. And did you know that each of us was born in one of the 4 countries? Thomas was born in India, Shari was born in South Africa, Sebas was born in Peru, and I was born in Canada. Adventure tourism is also known as nature-based tourism or commercial recreation. People can experience natural environment through a variety of guided outdoor activities. Our purpose of the presentation is to let you know more about adventure tourism in these 4 countries and to let you see by statistics and examples that adventure tourism is getting more and more popular. The presentation will be in 4 parts. At the first part of the presentation, I'm going to talk about adventure tourism in Canada. After that, Thomas is going to talk about adventure tourism in India. Then Shari is going to talk about adventure tourism in South Africa. And finally, Sebas is going to talk about adventure tourism in Peru. And he's also given a small conclusion of our presentation. The presentation will probably take around 20 minutes. And after the presentation, there will be time to ask questions. I will start with Canada. Canada is a country situated in the north of America. The country extends from the Atlantic Ocean in the east to the Pacific Ocean in the west, and northward into the Arctic Ocean. Canada is the world's 2nd largest country of the world by total area. Canada offers a lot of adventure tourism. The country offers a huge range of outdoor activities from hiking, boating and skiing to rock climbing. I will give some examples of adventures you could experience in Canada. I'm going to talk about some of the wildlife you could see in Canada, and I'm going to talk about 2 other adventures you could experience in the wilderness of Canada. And finally, I will give some statistics of tourism expenditures in Canada. Let's start with wildlife. In Canada, you can see a lot of wildlife, from sharks, birds and wolves to grizzly bears. I will give 2 examples of trips where you can see wildlife. First of all, you can visit Churchill, a small town in the province Manitoba on the Hudson Bay of Canada. Churchill is also known as the polar bear capital of the world. The reason for that is because of the polar bears are coming in large towns together in Churchill in October and early November to wait for the ice to form on Hudson Bay. When the ice is stable enough, the bears spread and spend the winter hunting for seals on Hudson Bay. As a tourist, you have the chance to see these bears these 2 months. You have the opportunity to see the bears up close from the safety and comfort of a vehicle called Thunder Buggy. This tourist attraction has become very popular, and every year there are thousands of tourists coming to Churchill to see the bears. Secondly, as a tourist, you have the opportunity to see the unique wildlife and nature at the location Night Inlet Lodge. This is a cove on the emerald waters of Night Inlet in British Columbia. At this location, you can see the largest concentrations of grizzly bears. During the peak season, a number of 40 grizzly bears are in and around the cove of Night Inlet to search for salmon in the Glendale River. As a tourist, you can get on a daily grizzly bear viewing tour. As I said at the beginning, Canada gives a lot of opportunities to experience adventure tourism. Next to the wildlife, there are more adventures to experience. This leads me to my next point: expeditions in the wilderness of Canada. As a tourist, you can go to South Morsby Wilderness. This is an area of natural wonder. The area is on the edge of the Gulf of Alaska, 18 miles off the coast of British Columbia. You can go on a sea kayak through Queen Charlotte Islands. These islands, the inhabitants call these islands the place of wonder because people could discover a unique nature and history. Second of all, you can go on a hiking trip through the mountains of Canada. Heli hiking is a new trend in Canada. The purpose of heli hiking is that a helicopter helps people to access all of the places of the mountains. There are always new sights to see. I will continue with statistics. The question is, how much money do people spend on holidays in Canada? As you can see, I have statistics till the year 2002. This is because the internet didn't give statistics later than 2002. The graph shows you the expenditures in millions of dollars in Canada. As you can see, tourism expenditures trend upwards, rising from less than $8,000 million in 1986 to over $12,000 million in 2001. You can also see that there are some aspects that have influenced the statistics. In 1988, there was a slight increase because the Olympic Games were that year in Canada. In the early 1990s, there was a slight drop. The reason for that was the recession that was in that time. After 1991, you can see that the expenditures increased enormously. And in 2001, the expenditures fell significantly. The reason for that were the September 11 attacks. It brings me to the end of the part of Canada. I've thought about the opportunities Canada gives tourists to experience lots of adventure tourism. I've thought about wildlife and trips through the wilderness of Canada, and I've also given some statistics of the expenditures the tourists spend in Canada. I hope you are a little clearer of the adventure tourism in Canada, and now Thomas will talk about adventure tourism in India.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I'm going to tell you something about the next adventure destination we've chosen, India. Well, my presentation is divided in 3 parts. Firstly, I'm going to tell you some general facts about India. Secondly, I'm going to tell you something about the 3 upcoming adventure trends, and finally, I'm going to give you a short summary of what I've told. Well, let's begin with general facts. Well, India is a country in South Asia with an estimated population of around 1.2 billion. It's the world's second most populous country in the world. There are 2 national languages. These are Hindi and English. Well, the Indian climate varies a lot, because you have a tropical climate in the south and you have a milder climate in the north. Well, India is an ideal country for repeaters. This means that you can visit the country for like 3 times without having seen the same. Well, this leads me to my next point, trends. Well, before telling something about the 3 upcoming trends in India, it's important to know that India earned around $8.9 billion from inbound tourists, which is more than twice they earned in 2004, because that was around 4.1 billion. Well, the table shows you there's a slight increase in numbers of visitors who come to India to visit well, these spectacular attractions they offer. And more people are visiting India to experience an adventurous holiday, like what I'm going to tell you in the next subject. Well, as I said in the beginning, in the introduction, I'm going to tell you something about 3 upcoming trends. These are whitewater rafting, trekking in the Himalayas, and camel safari. Well, let's begin with trekking in the Himalayas. As you all know, the Himalayas are one of the most known mountains in the world, and one of the most upcoming trends that has to do with the Himalayas is trekking in the Himalayas. I guess everybody knows what it is. And well, over the centuries, the Himalayas have attracted a lot of climbers, mountaineers, trekkers, and pilgrims. But since a few years, people from all over the world, people like us, want to adventure all kinds of trekking in the Himalaya to experience some adventure and to have some adventure in their life. Well, trekking is at the moment quite enjoyable. This has become relatively easy because of the development of lightweight equipment and clothing, and the booming tourist infrastructure.